From a classic 8-bit system all the way into semi-realistic modern graphics, gaming has always been a part of us. After a long day of work, I often love picking up a good video game console and just get playing. It's a great way for me to escape reality, and I always feel welcomed in the world that I'm being introduced in. A bit like films, apart that you actually interact in them. But with so many worlds, with you to play a part in it, which tends to that the most to me? And after reaching 100 subscribers, I think it's about time that I told you. I am Beyond a Hero, and this is my top 10 favorite video games. Number 10 has to be my most controversial pick, as I know many people absolutely detest this game, but I'm awarding it to Shadow the Hedgehog. I mean, I do have the GameCube port, so I kinda have the best version of it. I like the edgy tone the game has, and the gameplay isn't too bad. Mixed with the automatic high speed of Shadow, which makes platforming kind of a nightmare, so to say, but it's not too bad. The gun combat is actually pretty interesting, and since you have multiple different missions, which sometimes involve killing characters off, you have to think about where they might be and not just rush through the game. And talking about that, the game lets you decide what Shadow might become, either a force for good, a force of evil, or just somewhere in between. The music is also pretty catchy, fitting the theme for each of the stages, and the stages are interestingly designed. Yes, some of the platforming is a bit difficult, and yes, some of the dialogue can be laughable at best, but the gameplay has pretty great variation, and also it has great replayability. Honestly, Shadow the Hedgehog isn't the perfect 10 out of 10, but by no means do I think it's a bad game either. Say what you want about Call of Duty's constant milking, but compared to the likes of FIFA, at least each game differ from each release. I have only 2 games in the series thus far, one of which being Call of Duty Modern Warfare Reflex Edition, a great game with a great depiction of modern war. And the other one, you may ask? In perspective, this game may be underwhelming for the fact that it was set in the future, but in execution of the story, massively great. The story is that you, the player character, gets extremely injured after an extraction mission by possibly one of the most terrifying scenes in a non-horror video game. After being upgraded and equipped with the Direct Neural Interface, a device that has many functional capabilities that give soldiers the advantage in battle, your teammates start to go somewhat crazy and it's up to you to stop them. In this game, unlike literally any other video game, your character actually speaks and plays a part in the entire game. And the fact that the characters you're speaking to aren't a bunch of generic soldiers really does help set the tone of the plot. In terms of gameplay, it's exactly like your traditional Call of Duty formula, but with a twist. There's the addition of cyber cores, which can help turn the tide of battle. And the cyber cores are really creative. They include powering off robots for a short while, controlling some of your rivals' machinery, instantly killing human rivals, improving your agility, etc, etc. And since you have some recharging time after you used these abilities, it creates a very engaging risk and rewards dilemma. In some scenarios, you can't just run in and shoot. You also need some careful and meticulous planning as to when to strike. As generic the game may sound at first, it is overall a great game, and I recommend it heavily.
Let the bad memories fade. Let peace be upon you. You are in control. Imagine yourself in a frozen forest.
Do you know what's cool? Lego. Do you know what's also cool? Shooter games. So what happens when you combine the two? I absolutely adored LEGO's construction line since I was a lot younger, so naturally, this game is a huge love letter to me. As far as story goes, it's not anything too special.
Our island has been invaded by the six pirata. Vicious creatures they are.
All you have to do is to just fight off the 6 Paraka in order to finish the game. But that slight detriment is more than made up of how fun the gameplay is. Each tower has their own set of certain abilities and skills. For example, Jala the Mask of Fire has a very short range weapon and he's the only one that can cross lava. Hyuki, the Mask of Stone, has a medium range semi-explosive weapon that is slow to reload, and he is the only one that's able to build bridges. Kongu, the Mask of Air, has a very lethal short-range weapon and is the only tower with the ability to jump. However, the game isn't just pick a character and blaze through it. Certain characters have certain abilities that must be utilized in order for progression. Upgrading your tower's weapon and tower's abilities also help you progress through the game. Some abilities are locked at the beginning of the game, and some of them can help find pretty rewarding and interesting secrets. There's even an option to improve your defense systems so that you don't die as easily. The store mode is just that good. The store mode can also buy you amusing activities for any Piraka you defeat. A bit odd giving our conquerors stuff to relax to, even after we defeated them, but then again they don't work, so it's fine. And even more impressive, most of the characters barely speak in the game, and yet they convey so much personality. This game may differ from most standard LEGO game formula, but that I can heavily admire. There's just one major issue. Why didn't Hero Factory get its own console game? Do you guys want to know the only astounding game from EA? Here, there's your answer. At first, I was heavily debating whether Titanfall 2 or Call of Duty Black Ops 3 was better. However, I felt more immersed into the world of Titanfall 2, and of course, there's the mode where you go into the Titans and cause massive destruction. And generally, the Titanfall series has a lot more creativity. The story's premise may seem stagnant at first, but the relationship between trainee pilot Jack Cooper and Titan BT is just so special and memorable. The gunfights are often more compelling and fast-paced, and level design compared to Black Ops 3 are a lot more interesting and a lot more varied. The characters have a lot more personality in comparison.
And that's why you're dead!
Boss fights are pretty challenging as they test your knowledge on how to use your Titan. And not only can you pick up and change your Titan's weapon, but also changing weapon can change your Titan's abilities. And it can be really intriguing to know which weapon will be used in which situation. Overall, Titanfall 2 is a great multiplayer game, and one that has little to no flaws. It's just a shame that EA hasn't repriced its quality since. Anthem, please in the corner
And tell me anything that you did wrong.
Raymond Legends is the first ever video game I ever played. That just about sums up its justification on this list. Like Bionicle Heroes, its premise may seem dull, but in execution of literally everything else ever, really makes this game stand out. The stage design is very well thought out, as it each gives you a challenge to overcome. On a visual standpoint, it looks amazing. Each setting brings its liveliness and personality. And while you have the option to just skim through the stage, there are many different well-hid secrets. There are also so many things to do. Finding all the trapped Seenies, or Teensies, or whatever you pronounce them, can help you improve your score. And if you perform well enough, then you can get a lucky ticket. Lucky tickets can reward you with lumps, creatures that can give you a new reward when you check back into the game daily, and an extra level to the previous game, Raymond Origins. The bosses are imaginative and unique, and the game has a good sense of humor. Raymond Legends is through and through a very enjoyable experience, and it just makes me wish that Ubisoft will spend more time with the guy. Then again, considering Ubisoft's track record with milking all its other franchises, I think it's for the best. If you were to ask me what my favorite video game genre is, well, expect something between these lines. Look, I bloody love Devil May Cry 5, okay? The story is as follows. Dante and Nero get hired by V in order to stop the Quipploth from growing, which feeds on human blood. These three characters have a score to settle with the Demon King Urizen. Sounds like a catalyst for a really over-the-top edgy story, but it isn't. No, what you get is a very sophisticated hack and slasher with 3 different playable characters, with each with their own playstyle. Nero has a standard sword and gun, and he can even use his Devil Breakers to create many devastating combos. And many different Devil Breakers can be attached onto Nero to make many different combos, adding a lot of variety to Nero's gameplay. V, no, not that one, can't take down demons by himself, and needs to rely on his pets in order to damage them and weaken them so that he can deliver the final blow. Dante has the ability to quickly switch to any weapons, giving him the ability to make creative combos. And the story is extra special thanks to the characters. I mean, it's so hilarious seeing the edgy and hardcore demons as they get literally trash-talked by the main protagonists of the game.
Cool trick. Hey, do you do parties?
It has plenty of tension and plenty of humor to keep me enjoying the game.
Need hog. I never liked this guy. You test. I know you. Dumb as a box of rocks. Let's not even mess with this guy, V. He can't even leave the Clyphod anyway. Just a Clyphod parasite. Uh-oh. I think he hurt me.
May I need to elaborate further from what I just shown you? I love this game too much, and it was a great experience from start to finish.
Ooh-wee. I'm gonna make something amazing out of this.
Did you just sniff that? Do you have any idea where that's been?
By now, I think everyone here knows about Squid Game, the enthralling and tense show where people in debt have to play games or they risk dying. But there's one major problem with the show. Whenever I hear the words squid and game together, I just think of this. Wow, I'm lost for words. If there's any other shooter that's not boring or in the slightest repetitive, then Nintendo has proudly done it with Splatoon. Even though Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and Titanfall 2 were great games, that was mainly due to how amazing their campaign is, and while multiplayer modes were enjoyable, I felt it was the same old thing with every other shooter game. Shoot the amount of people on the opposing team until you win. But Splatoon is a whole different story. Instead of moody and gritty members of the army, instead it got these cute fellas who just want to have a bit of fun. The gameplay is also radically different from your typical shooter. Unlike other shooters where killing members of the opposing team is mandatory, in this game it's an option. Whereas in this game, if you really want to win, you have to cover the most ground. And if you want to move quicker in the stage, you can turn to a squid form and move in your color of ink. And the opposing team's color actually slows you down. These mechanics change the shooter genre completely. and I'm definitely not surprised that no other gaming company tried to replicate its battle format. The story mode is also decently challenging. The campaign can actually test your knowledge of the multiplayer modes, but also the secrets can tell you how the world of Splatoon came into inception. And all the while, you are welcomed with open arms with possibly some of the most adorable and colourful characters I have seen in a while. Well, most of them anyway. Can you please shut up, Sheldon? Now, both Splatoon and Splatoon 2 are great games, but overall I would have to give it to the first Splatoon game because I don't have to pay for online. But all things considered, the series in general is really innovative in an otherwise not very innovative genre. And in fact, should I even consider Splatoon a shooter game? It's at a league of its own. You can certainly say that the game is a fresh experience. See what I did there? I honestly don't know how to open this one. I'll just let the game do the talking.
In your wickedness, you have broken the ancient commandments and crafted a bond with one of the light. Our laws are clear. They demand you be eternally imprisoned. As for the impure child, she must be kept from the path of the dark arts forever.
Bayonetta.
It was really difficult deciding between the first Bayonetta game and the second Bayonetta game, but I had to give it to the first Bayonetta game because my guy Luca had a bigger role.
Anything less from the marvelous, magnificent, magnanimous Luca!
What a goddamn legend. Apart from that, Bayonetta is the type of game that I don't really have a lot to say about, but it's still great overall. The combat is simple yet engaging, like the characters from Devil May Cry 5, the characters are charismatic and they always give me a chuckle, and the story is very complex and intriguing. And, at least in contrast to Bayonetta 2, the bosses were a lot more cinematic and challenging. Bayonetta, a game I don't have much to say about, but it's a great game regardless. Racing games were never really my thing. I mean, yes, they were great fun with a group of friends, but I never really found them addicting or stimulating. But then F-Zero GX came into my life. Ah yes, F-Zero GX, bursting with content left, right and center. This is a game that I always love coming back to, and with good reason. To a much modern audience, the game may be looked at as a generic random racing game, but just with that one character they recognize from Super Smash Bros. But this game is leaps and bounds far from your usual racing game. Holding down the A button and hoping for the best will probably rank you last place in every single race. Instead, you have to think about the many different stage layouts that actually help you in a race instead of therefore being an extra add-on. For instance, the dash plates are a vital part in the first stage since you don't have your boost yet and you only get it in the next stage, and it's really going to help you go into a higher position. And then in the second lap, you receive your boost, but you can't just rapidly use it, and you have to make sure which time will be perfect to use it, because your boost is also your health bar, and you also lose health if you crash into a wall, which is why the health bars are super important as they recharge your boost / your health. It's also extremely vital to memorize each of the tracks. That's because the more you practice each of the stages, the more you're going to memorize other bits of the stages that might otherwise catch you off guard in your first try. And even better, each of the vehicles have their own stats for you to work around with. All of this makes getting the sweet first place extra more satisfying and extra more rewarding. And if you come first in the entire Grand Prix, then your character even gets interviewed. And what makes it better is that for the amount of screen time they have, the characters are absolutely amazing and they can be pretty relatable at times. Octoman's species is caught in crossfire with the Milky Way Space Federation and is thus put in debt, and so Octoman volunteers to help his people and his family. Michael Chain is the head of a gang called the Bloody Chain, and in order to prove that he's a strong leader, he enters the F-Zero races, but is constantly losing, and because of this, many people have left his gang. Pico is very popular as a hitman, but is more controversial among F-Zero fans for causing an accident many years ago. These were just few of my favourites. Because of how well crafted the backstories of the F-Zero races are, that means you want to push yourself in order for them to succeed well in the races. Which is why every time Octoman dies, I cry myself to sleep. Octoman, why? You were doing so well. You also had an ingenious garage mode section where you can create your very own vehicles, and it's also helpful that you can unlock a plethora of vehicle parts. And the story mode is so cheesy and ridiculous that it actually works in its own merit. Although it can sometimes be a bit contradictory to the characters' personalities, adding more to the silliness. Black Shadow is a cold-blooded king of evil, feared by all.
Yes, I can win it this time. I swear.
His mind and body are honed from the many battles he has survived, and there is no challenge he can't overcome. F-Zero GX is a masterpiece, and in fact, so were the previous 3 entries. These games had great world building that made me really feel connected with these 4 games. But alas, this is one game that had much more of a personal impact in me. I have quite a personal reason to put this game at number 1. Because without this game, I probably wouldn't have known any of these other games that you saw on the list. Or maybe even video gaming in general. This game defines me as a person, and that game is none other than Skylanders Trap Team. When I was younger, I played this game non-stop, and even when I'm older, for some reason I can never get bored of this game, even if I tried. I actually collected Skylanders even before I got a console of my own. I remember one night, I went to the Skylanders website and I saw there was a brand new trailer for the newest game in the franchise. Not only was there a sense of mystery, seeing as the roster wasn't fully revealed to the public yet, the moment they used the traps, and I was instantly won over. I already adored the LEGO Hero Factory Breakout line of LEGO sets, so obviously I had a bit of bias going into this. But the fact that you can put them back, and then you can play as the villain, that blew my mind. Later during that year, I got Skylanders Giants for my birthday, and Skylanders Swap Force for a birthday party I held. And then I got Trap Team as an early Christmas present. The art style and graphics were luscious and fascinating. The story is actually one of the best ones in the series, and it's simple yet effective. The combat was always intriguing, and there were vast amounts of charming and likable characters.
Hope you brought an appetite, because tonight on Me and You, we serving you.
From the Skylanders to the trappable villains and even the NPCs in the game. I really felt that I was in a part of a mission to capture all the Doom Raiders, the main antagonists of the game. And sure, there was the occasional glitch or two, or maybe lots, but that never dwindled my love for the game. There are so much things to do. You can trap villains with these oddly gorgeous looking crystal traps, and again, like I said previously, because the villains have personality, every encounter feels different.
Come again? I'm a good guy now. All's fair in love and war, I suppose.
There are also plenty of well-hidden secrets. For example, the Traptanium Elemental Gate that can be only opened by a Trapmaster with a certain element, the Trapmasters being the focus of the game. They can extend villain timers, and they're the only characters in the game that can break Traptanium. And going on about the Skylanders, all of the Skylanders from previous games can be able to be played in Trap Team. This could include standard core Skylanders, Giants, Swap Force, and even Light Cores. And if you switch to a villain, you can actually help make sure that the Skylander doesn't die in combat, or even use Skylander and villain in unison. And you can make a villain stronger by taking them on villain quests. And just like with previous games, you can upgrade your Skylander to make them more useful in combat. The game also features 2 new awesome elements, Light and Dark. And not only was there the story mode, but there was also some other extra game features. There's the Chaos Challenges, where you and your defenders have to push back enemies from opening the Mystery Box of Doom. Then there were the Arena Battle modes, where each Arena Battle there's a different challenge. And then there was the Skeletons mode, where you have to hit the notes at the right time in order to earn more cash for a Skylander to upgrade. And it's just very amusing to see Ghost Roaster doing a rap battle against a pirate sea dog. Kind of a bit like Parappa the Rapper to a certain extent. Skylanders Trap Team will forever be a classic in my eyes, and I really think the Skylanders series should be appreciated more often by the general public for what it stood for. But video games are subjective, and I'll understand if you disagree with me. So guys, tell me in the comments, what are your favorite video games? I'm open to any opinions. Like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you, yet again, for helping me pass over 100 subscribers. But until then, I'll see you in the next video.